Donald Trump was asked about this yesterday. He said that Xi Jinping would bully you. He would treat you like a baby. In his words, he said it would be like a grand chess master playing a beginner. We would lose our country or be in World War III.
Again, let's look at what Donald Trump did.
All right, so it's official. Kamala Harris will not be doing the Joe Rogan podcast. In fact, JD Vance will be doing it this Wednesday, and we have new polling that continues to show that Kamala Harris is not trending in the right direction. So let's start with what Joe Rogan had to say. All right, so this was yesterday. He put, also, for the record, the Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. They offered a date for Tuesday, but I would have had to travel to her, and they only wanted to do an hour. I strongly feel the best way to do it is in the studio in Austin. My sincere wish is to just have a nice conversation and get to know her as a human being. I really hope we can make it happen. Now, clearly, he is being very professional here. He's not trying to pick a side when it comes to this, and that's why he continues to say what he's saying. However, that was yesterday, and today it was announced that JD Vance will be doing the podcast instead. Here's what others had to say, like Charlie Kirk: America deserves 3 hours with Kamala and Joe Rogan unscripted. Hope it happens and she stops trying to dictate the terms. Elon Musk put, good clarification. I would definitely watch the podcast. Hour 2 would be a meltdown. Clearly. So multiple outlets are reporting that JD Vance will be on this interview, as I stated. But here are a couple of numbers that really stands out to me and why this is a big mistake from the Harris campaign. Check this out. Trump appeared on Rogan's show in a 3-hour episode that was posted Friday, and the episode had more than 37.6 million views as of Tuesday morning. And Rogan definitely is the #1 podcast on Spotify, and he has 18 million subscribers. So, you know, it's a big deal that she's not doing this, especially if she knows she's hemorrhaging when it comes to the men vote. Younger people, she's doing terrible on as well. And the whole excuse that she's too busy to do it is just bull, okay? They just don't see her doing it if it's not going to be to her parameters, right? Now, what's interesting, on CNN today, there was a political commentator that pretty much admitted out loud why Kamala Harris not doing this Joe Rogan podcast is really a bad idea, but also makes an excuse on why she shouldn't. Watch this.
Errol, little curveball here. Just before we walked out here, Joe Rogan posted on X that the Harris campaign has not passed on having the vice president sit down with Joe Rogan. What he says is right now the issue is he wants it to be in Austin where his studios are. He wants it to be 3 hours. The Harris campaign wanted it to be somewhere else, maybe a little shorter. How much of a risk would it be for her to do that podcast in the waning days of the campaign?
I don't think it's a risk at all. I mean, it might be a waste of time, but I don't think it's a risk. I mean, look, she needs to talk to, and she's been specifically trying to talk to, younger men of lesser education, not college educated. She doesn't connect with them naturally. She hasn't had a pitch that has really hit home with them so far. She's issued some policy statements, but they're not really well thought out in a lot of ways. And so she needs some authenticity. And if she thinks it will help her in, Detroit, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, or Milwaukee, then it's worth her time. If she's not sure that that's going to happen, then it's a complete waste of time. She doesn't need young male voters out of Texas. That's not a state that she's going after.
Yeah, but she was just in Texas with Beyonce. So how do you square that? And what's interesting, when she sat down for that CBS interview, they asked her the same question. They know the momentum is gone and the men vote is not good for her. And here's what she had to say.
It does suggest that your momentum has slowed. Do you feel like the race is slipping away?
I do not. And actually, and I agree with you. I think certainly polling is a measure, but to be frank, if I'd listened to polls, I would have never run for my first or second office. I wouldn't be here talking with you. And what I am seeing are in states such as North Carolina, Georgia, historic turnout. Yeah,
so let's tell you the full story on that. There is a historic turnout when it comes to early voting, but not with the demographics that she needs to win. So, for example, Georgia, the black vote is significantly down when it comes to early voting. All right, so they need to be 30% or above. They're under 30%, like 24% of the early vote is black people. So according to top pollsters, if the Democrats were going to dominate Georgia, they need black people to show up more than 30% in the early vote, and that's not happening. So there's that. North Carolina, the Republicans clearly have out-registered Democrats, and they're leading when it comes to the early voting and mail-in ballots. So I don't know what she's talking about when she says that. Now, we know we've been seeing Kamala Harris doing a lot of pandering to the black community. When you think about the black church, you think about the Charlemagne town hall, all that focus that she's been putting on black people at the last minute. She hasn't been focusing on the Latino vote. And now there's new polling showing that she's not doing good in that department either. Check this out.
Harris, as I said, had an 18-point advantage with Latinos. Biden in the 2020 exit polls, he had a 24-point advantage over Trump 4 years ago among Latinos in Arizona. Harris is +1 with Latinos in Nevada in our poll, but according to the 2020 exit polls, Biden won them by 26 percentage points. If that actually is what emerges on Election Day, that's a big warning sign in Nevada.
Yeah, see, it's a prioritization of attention, right? Where is her campaign putting attention? It's now being reported that they have pulled their ads out of North Carolina. So it's funny how she just said, we're seeing historic turnout in North Carolina. Yeah, but you just pulled your ads out of there. So tell me how that makes sense. Their attention has been predominantly on what? Trump is a Nazi. Trump is bad. Don't vote for the orange man. Vote for me because I'm a person of color and I'm a woman and I represent a new generation of leadership. But even though I've been part of the current administration, I mean, that's been the message. And so there's been so many people urging her to stop talking that way. But I truly believe she's like an addict. She's a fiend. She can't help but blame everything on Trump, especially when she's hit with a serious question about how she will respond on the world stage to our adversaries. Listen to this.
Donald Trump was asked about this yesterday. He said that Xi Jinping would bully you. He would treat you like a baby. In his words, he said it would be like a grand chess master playing a beginner. We would lose our country or be in World War III.
Again, let's look at what Donald Trump did. He sold advanced chips to China. Donald Trump, who admires dictators.
You know, the interesting thing is there may be some truth to that because she has yet in any interview made anybody truly feel that she is the best thing to lead this country when it comes to foreign policy, right? Like when we say she's going to go up against Putin or China or Iran or North Korea, nobody feels confident about that. And so maybe the campaign should be helping her focus on the right messaging to really close the deal here because she's missing the mark. And how do we know that? Because you still have the New York City Mayor, Eric Adams, coming out and condemning your closing message. Listen to this.
And they're talking about these real problems we're having. And with all that's going on to everyday New Yorkers, we're asking questions that is someone a fascist or is someone a Hitler. That's insulting to me. That is insulting. And I'm not going to engage in that. Everyone needs to turn down the rhetoric. Because after Election Day, we still have to be the United States and not the divided states. And so if people can't understand their real issues facing New Yorkers, and I just find it just humiliating that what everyday mom and pops are doing and going through across this country, that here we are having this conversation about this silly item. So I refuse to participate in that. I'm going to fight for New Yorkers like I've done for years, and whomever can understand that, they're not in the streets.
That's something that I would expect from all mayors and all governors to stop supporting the whole fascist and Hitler message, just like they don't support when Trump was calling her a communist. I mean, why don't you have the same standard both ways, right? Now, before I go any further, if you guys are getting value from this video, do us a favor. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you want to support us further, go to the link in the description below, grab yourself a t-shirt or buy us a cup of coffee. Yeah, so it's just a double standard. We know that. But the good thing about the Trump campaign is he's still focusing on the policies that matter to everyday Americans. And here is an example of that where Trump held a press conference today at Mar-a-Lago. Listen to this.
Her message has been a message of hate and division. And my message is about saving our economy, securing our border, bringing together the greatest and broadest coalition in American history. There's never been a coalition like this. Everybody's included. So today, I'm announcing that for the first time under my administration, we will be seizing the assets of the criminal gangs and drug cartels. And we will use those assets to create a compensation fund to provide restitution for the victims of migrant crime, and the government will help in the restoration.
Yeah, so just think about it. If you go back 4 years ago and you had said, yeah, RFK Jr., Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, Tulsi Gabbard, amongst other people they're probably going to attract because of their own network, is going to be a part of an administration that is going to turn the country around, I think you'd probably be hopeful. But because the name is Donald Trump, they don't want to give any credit to that, right? Okay, so let's look at the bigger picture. October 29th is where we are today. And then we're going to compare it to 2020 and 2016. Look at this. Nationally, Trump is up by 0.4. In 2020, Biden was up by 7.4. Clinton was up by 4.6. Now, as I go through these poll numbers, I'm expecting that you have registered to vote and you either did vote or you're planning to vote. And if you haven't, please make sure you do that, right? So when you heard me say that the Kamala Harris campaign pulled out ads from North Carolina and they're going to divert those resources in another state, you can see why. Because all of the polls in October, most of them all show Trump. Now, Michigan is something I want to give a little bit of attention to because there was a story that came out from CBS showing that the Muslim Americans in Michigan are refusing to vote for Kamala Harris, full stop.
One potential hurdle for Vice President Harris is reluctance among some Arab American voters, especially in Michigan, to support her due to the Biden administration's support for Israel in the war in Gaza.
And what are you going to do this time? Third party?
Jill Stein.
Write-in or third party, I haven't made my decision, but it's one of those two.
Write-in or third party. You just can't ask us to vote for genocide, and it's a terrible position to be in. I don't want to see Trump as president, but I cannot, in good conscience, give her my vote.
You can't expect us to be healthy, functioning members of this country while you utilize our tax dollars to destabilize our homelands and murder our family members.
You will have a certain percentage who's going to vote for Trump, but then you're going to have the vast majority of them voting for who? Jill Stein. And that's going to take away votes from Kamala Harris. So although they have her up by 0.3, there's still a lot of red here in the month of October. So again, the trend has been going in the direction of Trump. Now, we all know this is in the margin of error, so this could go either way. Okay, so let's go over a few scenarios that I've been paying attention to that might be likely outcomes in this election. So according to the current early voting data, it's looking like Nevada is going to go to Trump, like all things considered, because usually Democrats dominate in the early voting and they've been getting left behind in Nevada. So if that continues, Nevada is going to belong to Trump. Currently, right now, Trump is still up in Arizona. She has not been able to make a dent in that whatsoever. If we go to Georgia, Trump is up in Georgia still. I told you guys about the early voting as it pertains to the black vote. It's down. It's not where it needs to be. We just went over North Carolina, so we're going to give that to Trump as well. Now that puts him at 268. So clearly, we are left with the Rust Belt states. Michigan, I'm telling you, the Jill Stein thing, I think if there's any state that Jill Stein is going to negatively impact Kamala Harris, it's going to be Michigan. No question. And so some people still believe that Kamala Harris will win Michigan. And when you're talking about a state that is going to be won on less than 10,000 votes, yeah, I would say that's probably going to go to Trump, which leaves us with Wisconsin and Michigan. Even if he lost Wisconsin and he lost Pennsylvania, he's at 283, right? He only needs to win one of these three states, just one. She'd have to win all three. Let me show you that. If she wants to win, she'd have to win all three. All right. So what I want to do really quick is just go over a few scenarios of what could happen in the Electoral College map. We obviously know that anything could happen. We don't know what the ending number will be with 100% certainty. However, if we're taking into consideration the early voting data, the trends that have been happening over the past couple of weeks, and the polling data average from October, one of these scenarios are more likely to happen. Let's just start with what could happen for Kamala Harris that would allow her to win this election. If she was able to win Nevada, she was able to win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, she's the next president. It's just that simple. And now here's another scenario where Trump does win Arizona, Trump does win Nevada, but she still has 270 because she is winning in the Rust Belt states. Another way to look at this for Trump's side is if he was able to win New Hampshire, because right now that's in the margin of error, that would put him at 272. So she could still win the Rust Belt state and lose because New Hampshire is now in play. Another scenario for Trump is even if he did lose New Hampshire, but what if he won Virginia, right? He could still become the president even if she wins those Rust Belt states. Now, the outcome that I really want to see is where Trump at a minimum wins all 3 Rust Belt states and it ends up being a landslide at that point. Why? Because we need a definitive defeat for either party. Either it needs to be like this at a minimum, or it needs to go the other way where she sweeps the battleground states and it's a total defeat. Why? Because we need people to understand that the people in America have spoken. Yeah, so Kamala Harris not doing the Joe Rogan podcast. JD Vance is going to do it. That's a bad look already. With the reach that he has and the hemorrhaging she's already experiencing with the male vote, I think she should have capitalized on that. Number 2, clearly the state of Michigan is a huge problem for Kamala Harris. She pulled out ads in North Carolina. She's focusing her attention in Philadelphia right now, especially with black men. Will those things pay off for her? I don't believe it will. You guys saw the different scenarios there. But also is this, the closing message. Her closing message is very simple. Trump is a fascist. He's the next thing to Hitler. He's going to end democracy as we know it. And your rights as a woman is going to be taken away. Your daughter's rights is going to be taken away. And you should vote for me based on those things, even though you don't know anything about what I'm going to do in my next presidency, because I'm more likely to be like Joe Biden. That's her closing message. Trump, on the other hand, is very simple. I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to keep taxes low. I'm going to close the border. I'm going to put no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, right? I'm going to give a tax credit to home care providers. We're going to cap those interest rates for the credit cards temporarily. We're doing a tax deduction on car loan interest rates. I mean, all of that is very simple. Place tariffs to promote people to create their businesses and manufacturing businesses here stateside. And so we're going to make America affordable again. We're going to make America great again. You guys get it. So both messages from the campaigns are polar opposite, of course. One's focusing on personality and character. The other one's focusing on policy. And I like that's how we're ending, because that's really how we started. And that is my opinion. So what do you guys think about the fact that she's skipping out on this podcast? What do you think about the new polling, the potential electoral maps? Did you vote already? Let me know in the comments section. If you're not registered, get registered. Make sure you vote, of course. But let me know what you think about the other stories we talked about today. Now, one story, if you missed it, was Kamala Harris doing an interview with Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay podcast, which was a total train wreck, very awkward. If you missed my reaction to that, you can watch it because it's coming up right now.